There's a reason why some men never leave a woman's mind no matter how much time passes, no matter how many new faces come into her life. Maybe she smiles, moves on, even falls for someone else. Yet there's a quiet echo of one man she can't shake. And here's the truth, it's rarely about the flashiest moves or the smoothest lines. Sometimes it's the small, simple things done with conviction, presence, and integrity that leave a mark so deep, it becomes unforgettable. If you've ever felt overlooked, if you've wondered why she seems to forget you while remembering others, listen closely. Women remember how a man made them feel. They notice his presence, how he handles himself under pressure, and how he treats her without losing his sense of self. This isn't about playing games, being nice, or acting aloof. It's about leaving an impact that lingers long after you're gone. Today, I'm going to share 5 key qualities women never forget about a man, broken down into 7 deeper sections to guide your mindset and presence. If you're ready to become a man who stands out not just for a moment, but forever, this is where it begins. 1. He walks away when his standards are crossed. A man who can walk away when his boundaries are tested is unforgettable, not through anger or theatrics, but through the quiet power of his choice. Most men crumble when challenged. They argue, explain themselves, or bend over backward to keep her around. The ones who linger in memory, they don't tolerate disrespect. Imagine repeated cancellations, criticism in public, or tests of your patience. Many men would tolerate it, hoping for a payoff. But the man she remembers doesn't plead. He simply steps away calmly, without drama. His silence speaks louder than any words. When a man honors his worth and walks, it shocks the system because most men never do. She notices. She thinks. She compares every other man to him. This isn't about being cold, it's about self-respect. Confidence that isn't performative is magnetic. The moment she realizes she had access to you and lost it is unforgettable, not because of a game, but because she couldn't meet the standards you live by. That quiet strength leaves a mark. There is a quiet power in the ability to walk away, not out of anger, not out of pride, but because you know your worth and will not compromise it. A woman never forgets the man who shows her that boundaries are not suggestions, they are non-negotiable. Think about it. Most men fold the moment they're challenged. They argue, they explain, they beg, they twist themselves into shapes hoping to keep her attention. But that man, the unforgettable one, he does none of that. He walks calmly, resolutely, without drama. Let me tell you a story. There was a man I knew, John. He had been seeing a woman who constantly tested him, canceling plans at the last minute, being dismissive in public, questioning his choices. Many men in his position would have stayed, desperate to prove themselves. Not John. One evening, after yet another test of his patience, he simply said, "I can't continue like this," and walked away. No shouting, no guilt, tripping, just a quiet exit. Weeks later, the woman reached out, not because she wanted to apologize, but because she couldn't stop thinking about the man who valued himself enough to leave. That memory never faded. Walking away is not failure, it's mastery over self. It teaches her what respect looks like without saying a word. As the philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By standing firm in your standards, you show strength, self-respect, and integrity. And women notice that it lingers long after you're gone. Remember, walking away isn't coldness. It's clarity. You're signaling that your life has boundaries, and that anyone who cannot respect them is not your concern. That quiet confidence becomes a lasting impression because most men never develop it. They allow themselves to be molded by the whims of others. The man who walks away teaches without words. His silence speaks volumes. If you want to be unforgettable, hold your standards like a sacred boundary. The moment she realizes she lost access to you not because of manipulation, but because she crossed a line, is when the memory takes root. She doesn't just remember you. She respects the man you were and the values you held. 2. He makes her feel truly seen. There's a difference between noticing a woman and truly seeing her. Compliments about appearance are common, but noticing the subtle truths she doesn't express, that's rare and unforgettable. A man who listens deeply catches the hesitation in her voice, the subtle signs she's holding back. He asks the questions others overlook, the ones that make her think, "How did he know that?" Presence is more powerful than performance. You're not there to fix her. You're there to notice, to understand, to allow her to be real without masks. That emotional authenticity leaves a lasting imprint. Seeing a woman isn't the same as noticing her. There's a difference between a glance and understanding. Many men compliment what's obvious: the curve of her smile, the way she dresses, her hair. But that fades quickly. Women remember the man who sees what others miss. He notices her hesitations, the subtle weight in her voice, the dreams she hides from the world. He sees her essence, not just her appearance. I once met a man named Samuel, a quiet, thoughtful gentleman. He was talking with a woman who had been through countless superficial relationships. She spoke about her career, and most men would have nodded politely or dropped in a cliche like, "That's impressive." Not Samuel. He paused, watched her carefully, and asked, "Is that really what you want? Or is that just what everyone expects of you?" She froze. That simple question, asked without judgment, cracked open a part of her she'd long hidden. Weeks later, she confessed that no man had ever truly asked her something like that. Someone who wanted to understand her, not impress her. That question lingered in her mind because he saw her truly. Women have an innate emotional radar. They know when a man listens to respond, and when he listens to understand. Listening with intention is rare, and that rare quality is unforgettable. When you focus on her words, her pauses, her unspoken thoughts, you create a space of safety, emotional safety. You're showing her that she can be real, authentic, vulnerable, without masks or pretenses. That is something most men never give her. Here's another truth. Emotional presence isn't about oversensitivity or trying too hard. It's about being grounded enough to notice. When she tells you about a minor frustration or a fleeting dream, your attention validates her experience. She feels understood. She feels human, and that emotional recognition is sticky. It leaves an impression that lasts far beyond the moment. There's a quote I love from Carl Jung. "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." That's exactly what happens when a man truly sees a woman. He doesn't just react. He transforms the interaction into something meaningful. She doesn't just remember what you said. She remembers how you made her feel safe, seen, and understood. If you want to be unforgettable, master the art of presence. Be the man who notices what others overlook. Respond not out of performance or expectation, but with calm confidence, patience, and understanding. When you make her feel seen on a deeper level, you become rare. And rarity is unforgettable. 3. He doesn't chase. He attracts. Chasing signals is needed. Attracting signals purpose. Men who chase lose themselves in her responses, second-guessing every word, adjusting their energy to win approval. The unforgettable man is the one centered in his life, focused on growth, mission, and discipline. He moves with intention. He doesn't need constant validation. That energy, it draws her in. It isn't coldness or aloofness, it's grounded presence. Women are drawn to men who lead themselves, not those who revolve around them. When she notices you thriving with or without her, curiosity sparks, and that's irresistible. There's a powerful difference between chasing a woman and attracting her. Chasing is desperation, disguised as effort. Attractiveness is quiet, confidence rooted in purpose. Most men chase because they focus on her attention, constantly seeking approval, trying to prove themselves, and molding their behavior around her reactions. That approach is exhausting and forgettable. Contrast that with a man who lives in alignment with his purpose. He focuses on his health, his mission, his mindset, and his craft. He doesn't need constant validation because he already knows his worth. That energy is magnetic. She feels it without you saying a word. It's like a candle in a dark room. You don't have to announce it, yet everyone notices. I remember a story of a friend, David. He was working on building his business and personal discipline. He met a woman at a seminar, and instead of pursuing her aggressively, he stayed true to his routine, his focus, and his purpose. She noticed slowly, almost unconsciously. She became curious about his life, intrigued by his independence and calm energy. He wasn't cold or distant. He simply wasn't chasing. Over time, she gravitated toward him. That's the difference between attraction and pursuit. Attraction invites her to follow willingly. Pursuit pressures her to respond. Attraction is a byproduct of self-mastery. When you lead your life instead of reacting to her presence, you create an irresistible force. Women are drawn to men who lead themselves first. As Lao Tzu said, mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. That mastery translates directly into attraction. It's also important to understand balance. Attraction doesn't mean aloofness or arrogance. It means warmth without neediness, openness without chasing, and confidence without aggression. It's about showing the life you already have and inviting her into it, rather than bending your existence around hers. 4. He leads with certainty, not control. Leadership isn't domination. Control is insecurity disguised as authority. Women never forget a man who leads with quiet confidence. He makes decisions calmly, navigates challenges with stability, and doesn't need to micromanage her. Imagine plans falling through or unexpected challenges. Most men panic. The unforgettable man adapts effortlessly. No problem. I know a better option. He creates trust, not fear. His steadiness invites comfort. Control alienates. Certainty inspires. That distinction is powerful, and it's remembered. Leadership is not domination. Control is fear disguised as authority. Women never forget a man who leads with quiet certainty. The one who makes decisions calmly, guides the moment without dictating it, and creates stability without pressure. That energy is rare and deeply compelling. Consider this. A man who panics or hesitates in moments of uncertainty immediately loses respect. A man who overrules everything to assert control is equally forgettable. The unforgettable man, he navigates challenges effortlessly. Plans fall through. Rain spoils an outing. Obstacles appear, and he simply adjusts. No problem. I know a better spot, he says, steady and calm. That certainty is magnetic. A story comes to mind about Michael, a friend who often took the lead in his relationships without controlling his partner. One rainy evening, their dinner reservation fell through. Instead of fretting, Michael calmly suggested a new place, smiling confidently. His partner later admitted that moment left a mark. She didn't just appreciate the solution, she felt safe. She trusted him because he didn't need to control her. He simply led. Control creates resistance. Leadership inspires trust. Women want to relax into a man's steadiness, not constantly manage his mood or decisions. True leadership in the presence means being anchored in yourself, not reacting to every fluctuation. Confidence doesn't need to demand compliance. It invites alignment. 5. He lives a purpose-driven life, with or without her. A man of purpose is already fulfilled. He doesn't need a woman to complete him. His life has direction, intention, and meaning. That energy is magnetic. Purpose isn't about wealth or fame. It's about waking each day with reason to grow, build, master, contribute. When a woman encounters a man like this, she's drawn not because he needs her, but because his life already matters. She sees a path she can join, not a void to fill. Purpose grounds you, makes you unshakable and unforgettable. Purpose is the magnet that draws admiration, respect, and ultimately, memory. A man who lives with purpose is already fulfilled before a relationship begins. He's not using a woman to fill a void or validate his existence. This self-sufficiency is profoundly attractive. Let me share a story about Marcus. He was dedicated to his craft, a musician building his art with intention. When he met a woman, he didn't drop everything to win her attention. Instead, he continued to pursue his purpose passionately. She watched. She respected. She gravitated toward a man who had a life, a mission, and a reason to exist beyond her. That kind of man becomes unforgettable because he is unwavering. Life lesson. Purpose doesn't mean wealth, fame, or influence. It's about clarity of direction, daily action, and growth, whether or not anyone is watching. As Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." When you walk with purpose, your life's energy communicates more powerfully than any words. Women are drawn not to men who revolve around them, but to men whose lives are complete and intentional. By living purposefully, you inspire others without demanding it. You create a standard that others admire, even if they cannot replicate it. 6. He creates emotional impact without losing power. Emotionally impactful men don't collapse under their feelings. They connect deeply without being needy. They communicate with honesty, presence, and clarity. Most men either shut down or overshare, leaving women with extremes they've grown accustomed to. The man who feels deeply but stays grounded, that's rare. He expresses standards, desires, and truths without drama. His steadiness amplifies the weight of his words. That emotional imprint, the safety, the authenticity sticks long after he's gone. Most men misunderstand emotional presence. They think they must choose, be stoic and detached, or be vulnerable to the point of dependency. Women never forget the man who balances both. He feels deeply yet remains grounded. A memorable example is Robert, a man who could express his thoughts, standards, and desires honestly, yet never wavered in self-respect. He could share feelings of frustration without exploding, reveal moments of joy without demanding sympathy, and maintain emotional stability even under pressure. Women noticed. They remembered the calm authority behind his words, the clarity in his eyes, and the steadiness in his voice. Emotional impact comes from authenticity paired with self-mastery. Speak your truth without manipulation. Share feelings without seeking control. This combination of vulnerability and stability is rare, and it creates a connection that leaves a lasting impression. 7. He isn't just a chapter. He's a turning point. Some men are simply part of her story. The unforgettable ones change it. They challenge her perspective, elevate her standards, and leave her reflecting on herself and relationships. By living aligned with values, standing firm, and connecting authentically, you become a man who rewrites the narrative. She may not stay, but she'll never forget. You become the benchmark against which all others are measured. The men and women never forget, and aren't flashy, manipulative, or desperate. They're grounded, intentional, purposeful. They connect emotionally without losing themselves, uphold standards without compromise, and leave a lasting impact on her life. If you want to be that man, stop chasing approval. Build presence. Lead with quiet confidence. Live with purpose. Show up with real strength. And you won't just leave an impression, you'll become unforgettable.